This is F.D.Recovery, where we interview addicts and alcoholics.
Our aim is that through this podcast, we might help you on your journey of recovery.
Thank you for listening. Hello, this is F.D. Recovery. My name is Frank, your host, and
I'm Dave.
We got Dave over here. All right, man. Thank you, Dave, for showing up. We haven't had you in a little bit, but we got you back.
I'm back.
And back. All right. So this week is going to be trust. That's our. Oh, and for the people that do not know, this is the weekly intention. We basically pick a spiritual principle, we work it through the week, and then we come back, choose another one, but then we do a quick recap of the spiritual principle before. And all right, last week was accountability. All right, accountability. So you're pretty, you know what accountability means, right?
I've heard of it, yeah.
You heard of it?
Yeah.
So the way it worked for me in my day-to-day life, it showed up unexpectedly for me. It showed up with my health. I realize, sometimes when you think of accountability, you think of either a problem or, facing a problem or facing a responsibility or your obligations. And it really showed up for me in my health because I had to take a rest day. I had to take a couple rest days where I haven't called off of my job once, and I finally had a call in 6.5 years. I had to call in, and
well, wait a minute. That's not what you told me. You're always telling me you're calling in sick. Now the truth comes out.
The truth comes out.
Yeah.
No, but for real, aside from COVID, once you had COVID during that time, you were like barred from every single existence on the planet. So, that doesn't really count. I would have still went to work, but I've gotten to this habit of just working myself, even when I'm sick, still coming to work, and I was just beat down, right? And accountability showed me up. Like, you have health is a responsibility. It's on that list of things you have to be mindful of, and that's one thing. That's the way accountability. I had to be accountable to my health and give myself some rest because that was a huge thing for me. And it was weird because I took that day off of work and I really didn't get a day off because I was getting text messages and phone calls and crap like that. But it was kind of cool to pump the brakes, and it showed up. What you got over there? It kind of showed up in that way where it was unexpected. I thought I was going to be like either holding myself accountable and holding other people, when you think of accountability, but it kind of just showed up for me in that subtle way of just taking care of my health, man. And taking those couple days and drinking tea and yada yada. So that's how it came up big time for me, was my health. How about you, Dave?
How about me? I was just thinking about accountability when, before I got clean, I was so busy trying to hold other people accountable when I wouldn't hold myself accountable. It was just the hypocritical human being that I found out who I was, and then when I got clean, it was considerably different. It was, I had people holding me accountable for things, and I didn't have that for so many years, just being self-employed and, thinking I'm the boss and, because I was, but nonetheless, it was, um, when I got clean, I had a sponsor to hold me accountable. I had a probation, officer hold me accountable, and started, building a support group around me that held me accountable as well. And so accountability really for me didn't start until I, 50 years old. So it was something I really didn't realize what it was like to have
Yeah.
someone hold me accountable for my actions, for my words, for the things I say or do, you know. And yeah, so it was a change of um, the whole trajectory of my life, you know. Um, Today I'm held accountable by a lot of people,
Oh yeah, you are.
by a lot of people,
Yeah.
right?
Seriously.
And so, you know, being um, taught how to live life on different terms. You know, you say life on life's terms. Well, I was living life on life's terms before I got clean.
Hmm.
And then, you know, it was a whole new concept for me to learn how to live life on God's terms. Um, that changed my whole direction in life. And, you know, today I'm accountable for, you know, my work, my personal life, my spiritual life, and you know, it's because people hold me to a different standard today than where I was holding myself to. That was the problem. I was the one setting the bar
Hmm.
until other people helped me raise the bar and you know, taught me how to live life.
Yeah, that those limiting beliefs
Yeah,
kind of set a ceiling for us. And
yeah,
the one thing that I said last week in this whole accountability thing is we live that lifestyle of never, never snitch, never this, and you go around never holding anybody accountable and also yourself. So you end up in this perpetual cycle of just there's zero accountability across the board.
yeah. I was quick to see other people's wrongs, but
Oh yeah.
I was never wrong.
Oh yeah.
One time I made a mistake, but
Turns out you were wrong. I thought I was wrong
yeah,
once. Turned out I was mistaken.
yeah, it was just a mistake.
Well, that's the whole thing about accountability, and sometimes it's just like that ego and that pride, right? Because pride pops
That's all
up.
it was.
Yeah,
That's all it was.
it blocks us from all those gifts,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Self-centered pride.
Pride, and today pride, I see it show up in the silliest ways, right? It's never at like it used to be. It's a little subtle now, like, oh, I think this person should, oh, you should say thank you in these certain situations, and I'll get like this little butt hurt, you know what I mean? Oh, you didn't say thank you when I opened the things like that. And those are those constant things you got to check your motives. Okay, I'm opening this door and I'm being this person just because I know it's do the next right thing, right?
Right.
And really checking, holding yourself accountable in that way. It was like, okay, what's my motives? That's a huge tool you use for
Mm-hmm.
accountability. And um, yeah, and the way my higher power worked for me in this with accountability this past week, was slowing me down, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
slowed me down and he's like, okay, you need a day. And my wife, he spoke through my wife. Is like, hey, why don't you just take the day off? Kind of hinting at it, and of course I planned it to where it wasn't a heavy workload day, and so um, that's the way it showed up in my. That was just a bunch of scribbles. Usually it's a little bit more put together. I had a busy day.
I'm looking at Frank's notes. They're a bunch of scribbles.
Yeah, dude, it's like a chicken ran across the page. Who let a chicken loose in there, dude?
Oh, thank God your four step looked a little better than
It was a
this.
little better, not
Little.
much. so
Uh,
so that whole reality check of a higher power working in my life and using accountability in such a way that I didn't see coming, right? He's just like, slow down, your health is more important
yeah,
than any of this BS that you have clogged in your brain. Oh, I got this,
yeah,
I got that, I got this. And he slowed me down. He's like, no, your health's more important. And he
yeah,
spoke through my wife and through people in my life at the time, and it was a reality check. It's like, that was, I need to be accountable for my health too. Right. I'm pretty healthy as far as, weights and gym and what I eat. But when you get sick, it's just like, okay, you got to rest. And there I am trying to go to the gym every single day. And it's just like, I even took a day off, which is a day off from the gym. And, so it's kind of,
hmm
it was slowing me down, and I realized that's the way my higher power showed up for me this week for accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I know that we're a little bit on a time schedule a little bit, so we'll jump into trust because there's a lot to unpack with trust. But the one thing I like to lead off, the way I'm going to use accountability from, well, probably there's so many words out there, so I'll probably recycle a couple of these a few months down the road. But the way I'll use accountability this week is, or from in my recovery, is just trying to, stick to my routines. Stick to my routines that I know I was working.
How's that 4-step coming?
I actually have one. I had one up here. I have like two in the car.
Yeah.
I got them stashed in a whole bunch of. I got some in my drawer at work. It's pretty funny. With these powers combined. All right. So how are you going to use accountability in the continued recovery from here forward?
How am I going to use it?
Yeah.
Oh man, I so for in recovery, I have a sponsor. He knows he's my sponsor, and we actually both have a 4-step ready to share with each other. We continue working the steps and doing this process of recovery, day by day. And so, how am I going to hold? What was the question?
Oh, how are you going to use accountability in, the coming days of recovery?
It's I don't really have to utilize it. It's been ingrained in me
Yeah.
where it just comes second nature today.
Yeah, that's a good spot to get it.
Yeah, I mean it's this whole recovery process has become second nature to me. It's not like I really need to work the program because the program has learned to work me, right? And it's just up to me to surrender to the program, surrender to my higher power, and
Hmm.
get direction from someone other than myself. That's important. You know, the direction I was taking myself was, jails, institutions, and close to death.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it just comes second nature to me. You know, sure, I hold myself accountable, but I also have people. If I have great ideas, I always run them by my sponsor, my tight support group.
Yeah.
You know, even my sponsees. Hey, what do you think of this? I like to hear someone else's input today, which was not me before.
That's a good way to hold yourself accountable, though,
Yeah,
is asking inputs from other,
absolutely.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well,
yeah.
let's move on to trust and trust. Let me find the whole old trusted Google. We like to look up real quick on what Almighty Google has to say.
Oh,
Let's.
definition. Trust.
Well, I don't want to just be, whoa, trust is this, and talk a whole half an hour about trust, and then look at the dictionary and go, oh man, I was wrong the whole time.
That's one book that my sponsor suggested. He actually said the best book that could go along with the big book was a dictionary to look up words.
Oh yeah, because you're gonna need it because it's from the 1940s.
And that was another suggestion. Get a book that was a dictionary from the 30s because
Yeah,
that's when the book was actually printed in
yeah.
1939.
Oh, it was 39.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So trust. Here's a couple dictionaries. I mean, a couple definitions. And a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, or strength of someone or something. Ooh, I like that. What is the meaning of trust? Trust is at its core is a firm belief in the reliability of truth or ability of something or something. It involves a willingness to be vulnerable to another person or entity, expecting them to act in a way that benefits you. Oh wow, expecting, huh? Oh. This belief is often based on past experiences and observation. It is a fundamental element of social relationships and cooperation. That's what AI overview has to say. So basically, what I'm gathering is what it's saying is based off of past evidence, based off past experiences, and that's how you build trust. Is For me, going off that definition and the way it was, and the way trust kind of resonates with me is I see people in my life today that show up a certain way and show up for me, especially in my recovery. And it's taught me how to trust, right? When you see that repeated behavior from whether it be a sponsor or just a support group, and you see them showing up for you, and especially when you're in early recovery, you're kind of lost and you don't really know what trust is, right? And you definitely don't have it because you don't trust yourself, right? I didn't trust myself to not to get high. you know I was shooting up every hour on the hour almost, and um, that was a point to where I really had to look for others, and I really had to see how people were showing up in my life, and because they really taught me how to, especially you, right, and Robert, and people that would show up in
Hmm.
my life and be consistent. That really showed me how to operate. So I think this whole trust thing is big time based off of the way people show up in your life today. Kind of help you build that trust, and that's why it's important to get people in involved that are heavy in recovery. First off, with multiple years, you know what I mean. So,
Well, here's a little more detailed breakdown.
ooh,
It says belief in reliability. Trust means believing someone will do what they say they will, or that they will act in a way that is consistent with their character.
ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
Yeah. They talk about, get a sponsor that has what you like, and going into the rooms of NA or AA, and, hey, they got, so many years clean. I'm going to ask them to sponsor me because, I need a sponsor. But how do they act outside of the rooms?
Yeah,
Are they that person that you can truly trust? Are they the person you can share your secrets with? You know, and some people are let down by that, and then they get loaded and they say NA or AA doesn't work, right? No, it's because someone let them down.
yeah,
Okay, trust me, right? Vulnerability. Trust often involves taking a risk and being vulnerable to someone else's actions, assuming they will act with your best interests in mind. Mm.
that's a big one.
Yeah, it is.
Best interests in mind.
Yeah,
That's that, especially when you're first starting, you'd think nobody has, but because I was still paranoid, and I can still get there, trust me. But especially in the beginning, I was all paranoid, and everyone's after me, and
I remember.
oh yeah.
I remember.
So the whole, I had to realize what trust and faith were, right? You can trust is more built off of evidence, right? And when you start venturing in faith, it's starting to kind of believe with you, even though there's no evidence necessarily to prove it, like tangible, but it's more or less spiritual, the connection that you find with faith. Instead of a trust is kind of, I trust Dave because he's been showing up in my life, and he's always told me the truth, and he's always kept it real. He's never done me wrong. I've never sensed that an energy build, none of that, right? And that does translate to spiritual.
Sure.
But when you're dealing with faith, it's a whole different ball game, which we won't dive too in because we'll probably use that in the future. But
Yeah.
understanding the difference, because I thought trust faith was all interchangeable, and it is in a sense, but they're two different things, right? Trust is, for me, it's like it's more of the tangible, seeing how people behave, that kind of
Mhm.
stuff that helps reinforce trust within you, right?
Right.
and
Right.
and that was a big hurdle for me, is trying to separate trust from faith, because for some reason my brain connected those, and I've always connected faith with religion. and I hated religion, anything to do with it, right? And so that's how my brain intermingled everything, right? So that was a thing for me, and I didn't like forgiveness either because it was always, oh, forget Jesus, forget things like that, you know. So having to even dissect trust and pull it away from some of those thought patterns and like, okay, this is I can't get lost in all my biasness, right?
Mhm.
And that was a big hurdle for me with trust, you know.
Takes that leveling of the pride, doesn't
Yes,
it?
100%. uh, please
Here's
don't talk about my pride, please.
yeah. Here's another one. Building trust. Trust is built over time through consistent honesty, open communication, and keeping promises.
Keeping promises.
Mm.
Imagine that. You know, that was a big thing,
I'll
man.
be back in 20 minutes.
Yeah, just give me the money. I'll be
Yeah.
back. I
Give me the
promise.
money. I'll be back.
And that's when real faith was tested.
Right? Yeah.
Holy smokes, that's funny. But I've always battled with trust. You know, that was a big thing for me. You got something on there that you wanted to share?
Yeah, this is a foundation of relationships.
Oh,
Trust really is a foundation
yeah.
for any relationship. It's a crucial component of healthy relationships, both personal and professional, because it allows for cooperation, communication, and a sense of safety.
Mm,
See, when I trust someone, I feel safe around them. Right? I don't feel so on edge.
that's a good one.
Yeah,
I didn't even think of that.
yeah,
I mean, you think of it in different ways, but put in that way, the way that it just broke that down and the way you said that, I was like, okay, that makes sense.
yeah,
Because you're right, those people that you just are like okay around, you know, and you can just be good and
yeah,
like what we were talking about before we jumped on this. It's like
yeah,
talking about John. He's like a good guy, you know.
yeah,
Just being able to be around him is so easy,
yeah,
and that's what it is, right? But
yeah,
yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you brought that to the table because that was
yeah.
good right there. Those are those gems.
There's another one. It says beyond belief. Trust can also involve the sense of hope and expectation that something will turn out positively,
Mm.
even if it's uncertain.
Ooh, that's starting to venture in a little bit of trust faith right there. That's kind of
Trust faith.
and trust faith. Trust fall.
No, I kind of, you know, we like to feel secure in our relationships, our friendships, um, with our significant others, family, and but if we don't trust other people, we need to look a little deeper within ourselves. Why are we so untrusting?
Mm,
A lot of times it's because we haven't been so very trustworthy
yeah.
ourselves. You know,
And you
our
know
our guard is up.
that's a big one
Yeah,
is bringing down that guard, man. Ugh.
yeah,
That one's a tough one because you know you live a life of where that guard has kept you safe,
right.
right? And when you come in from a childhood trauma and things like that, because it gets rough, right?
Yeah,
When people go through it,
yeah,
and it's like that's the only way you're ever felt safe. That thing you're talking about, how you feel safe around somebody's never
right.
experienced that, right? I remember when I was young, the only person that I kind of felt that way with was my younger sister, right? And we kind of had each other's back. But for the most part, I never felt safe around my dad, never felt safe around my stepmom, never felt safe around my real mom, right? And I didn't really get to know my mom around until 16, right? So for some people that are out there, they're like, wow, that it's just so foreign. And that's kind of when I stepped into recovery. I was just so foreign to me. Um there was no love per se. There was no love being just thrown around. I love you. There was none of that. You know, it was
Mm,
just when I got older and my real mom, right? She said it a lot, but I didn't grow up with her, right? So it was just a little different. So um, there's people out there that have those maladaptive techniques that they had to create through survival. Um, they're probably getting to a point where it's not working anymore, right? They're finding themselves alone, and that's kind of what was going on with me. Is is they're probably getting to a place where it's not working anymore, and they're at a fork in the road where they have to try something new. And right, probably, um, and hopefully they've found AA or NA, and they're starting. Maybe they're hearing this podcast, and maybe this is their first exposure to NAAA. Who knows? Um, but I remember that first exposure with me is just like feeling that, and that vulnerability felt raw,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And when you talk about that vulnerability, you literally feel naked emotionally, right?
Yeah.
And
It took me a long time to get vulnerable. I mean, truly vulnerable. Because I came in with, my guard was up, my walls were up, and I'm not going to trust anyone. Why? Because I wasn't so trustworthy myself, right? And it took time, and
if
trust,
I do it, they do it.
right? And trust isn't just a belief, right? It's a commitment in acting in accordance to that belief. See, I have. I remember Ab used to say, you can't um, act your way into right thinking. You have to think your way into right acting, or no, vice versa.
Vice versa, yeah.
Yeah,
That's right, because action is,
act your way into right thinking.
you know,
Your actions are going to speak louder than the words, but yeah, it's problem is that our thinking. That's where my problem was the whole time, but I didn't think so.
of course, yeah. It's like you having yourself in a headlock.
Yeah,
You don't even notice it until your arms are free. You're like, oh wow, that was the reason why that airflow wasn't going in there.
yeah.
It's like the moment your head pops out of your ass.
Oh boy.
You can hear it from across town. I heard it from here.
Sonic boom.
Hey, but those that, like you said, the leveling of pride is essential for the whole trust part,
Yeah,
right? And because the way pride works, it shows up for me. It's that guard, like you were saying, that have those walls up, right? Back
yeah,
off type function, and it was a whole lot of ego. I thought the world of myself, right? And it was this backwards thinking. I thought so highly of myself, but I was like, oh, I'm also a piece of shit.
yeah.
There was like these weird, I don't know how to explain it, almost like dual
They
personality,
call
right?
it the egomaniac with the inferiority complex.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And man, that's a battle, right? That's why I
yeah,
wrote battle on this
yeah.
trust thing, because it
Is
doesn't
that what
come.
that said?
Yeah. I
Your little,
tried to.
your little chicken scratchers.
It'll look like a turkey's all clucking across there.
Yeah.
Well, I tied trust with paranoia big time.
Mm,
Because there was just so many times that when I'm not doing well mentally, it always leads to paranoia.
yeah,
I start tripping, my wife's cheating on me, my girlfriend's cheating, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Back in the day, it was, oh, my girl's cheating on me, and they're not even doing anything.
Were you cheating on her?
That's the fucked up part. I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
There was a lot of there has been some risky situations where, like, we were broke up
See?
for a weekend or something, you know what I mean? But there was never just flat out like adultery.
What did you
Uh,
think, she gave you a pass for the weekend or what?
oh, when she breaks up with me and says
Oh,
fuck
okay.
off, I'm like, well, wait, I guess I'm single now. And then she comes back 4 days later, I'm sorry. And then I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm like, hey man, I mean, but
Ah,
that's that old thinking,
yeah,
like, oh man, no, she broke up with me. I know how the cycles go, and I'm smart enough to realize she'll be back in a week. But it's like, oh, free pass, let's go, free
yeah.
pass at Domino's.
That's funny because my thought goes to a line in the big book Alcoholics Anonymous. It says there is a solution that
Mm,
almost none of us like: the self-searching, the leveling of our pride, the confession of our shortcomings, which the process requires for its successful consummation. So that means I'm going to have to level my pride, share something with you, and trust that you're going to have a different insight than I have.
yeah,
And I'm going to trust that you're not going to share what I'm sharing with others, right? In time, we build some confidence, we build some connection,
Yeah.
right?
There's one way I can break your trust right now. Next week, if you tune in, I will have his fourth step and I'll read it live on air. You're like, damn it. I'm going to listen to FD Recovery. Wait, is that my fourth step?
Right?
That's one way to damage it.
Uh,
Well, I mean, this trust is a beautiful thing, though. But once you get to that other side, right, and you start giving it a try, right,
yeah,
it frees you up, man.
yeah,
It gets you to this place of, you know, that healing where the vulnerability is just healing. Right? You ever get to that where, like, oh, I don't have to hide anything,
yeah.
right? People accept me for who I am. All the bad stuff, even the bad stuff, right? And that's what this whole process is getting to that a place where you're confessing your shortcomings and doing
Hmm.
this whole process, right?
Yeah,
And then you're helping other people and you're in it. There's something that happens where you're like, you're not fighting these old demons. There's new demons that pop up that,
sure.
but it's just a beautiful thing where you can start healing through the trust, right? And just like it breeds that place of vulnerability that you can sit at, right? It doesn't have for me. I mean, there's a lot of stress in my normal life, so sometimes I fall back and I can get real wound up and put those walls up. But today I have tools to help me get out of those places, right? And my wife is so good; she's so patient, and that's one thing. That's why I love and trust her so much, is because she's so patient with me. She'll know immediately when I start going into that paranoia. She'll know. She's like, hey, that's not where we're going. Like, hey, and then she'll explain some things
Yeah,
to me because she'll see it, right? Because I'm overworked, feeling like shit, 7 days, 8 days straight, and then I'm going on my sometimes 2 week in a row, and then she's like, okay, and she'll know and she'll do all the bells and whistles, and she's so great. She'll make sure everything's okay for me because she sees how hard I'm working, and there's a lot of responsibility. So many people
sure.
call in and just it's a shit show, right? And
That's where the accountability partners come in
mm-hmm.
to save us, because we don't see that we're working 14-hour days, or
Yeah,
they don't see us working 14 days in a row, right? Or we don't see ourselves doing it,
yeah,
and they're the ones that can call us on that stuff. Yeah.
it's important to have people like that
Oh
in your
yeah.
life.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's nice to have accountability partners.
Accountability buddies.
Uh,
Uh,
okay. We're
that
gonna have
we're gonna have a T-shirt made. Accountability buddy.
to.
FD Recovery. You
we're
heard
gonna
it here.
we're gonna call Webby and put that definition in the dictionary. We got a new
Account-
word for you.
Yep. You'll
we got
see my face right there, just all haggard.
we got a new word, right?
Oh man.
That's funny.
So, you got something else you wanted to read on there? Because you're
Oh,
thumbing away.
there's a lot of good stuff.
I know
You
those are
know,
some gems you found on there.
yeah.
That's all Google, huh? I'm telling you, Google's the man, or
How's this?
female, one of
How
the
do you
two.
define trust in a relationship?
How do I define trust in a relationship?
This says one of the most important aspects of a romantic relationship is trust. Right?
Uh,
Trust means that you have faith in your partner's words and actions, and you support their dreams and goals.
ooh,
Oh,
dude, screenshot that, dude. Send that to me.
trust also means that you respect each other's boundaries, mm, and privacy, and you don't try to control or manipulate them.
Ooh, I've gotten so much better with that. Screenshot that for me. That's a good one. I've gotten so much better with that, man. I was so bad. I used to be a phone hawk, and there's just stuff I had to unlearn, right? Because I was so insecure, right? And it leans back on that paranoia, battling with it, with that whole trust, not really
Yeah,
knowing the definition, getting to this place where like, okay, I have to be okay. If somebody does, I was so afraid, right? It was really just my abandonment that was really going on here. My
mm-hmm.
mom abandoned me when I was young. I had a stepmom abusive, dad that was abusive. And it doesn't, a lot of people think, well, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like my childhood. I'm like, dude, abuse is abuse. It doesn't
Right,
matter,
right.
um
Who's to measure the
Who's
degree
to
of,
measure? Yeah,
of
you know,
yeah,
you put hands on your kids in that way multiple times for
yeah,
years. It's abuse. Get what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I would never do it to my daughter. I've never hit both of my daughters. Never will. It's not. I know what it did. I know what it did to me.
Mm,
Right. I'm just not doing it. And
yeah,
um, so the short end of that is just like that, finding that position to where you can get to those where you're not looking at your partner's phone, you're not stressing on
yeah,
that shit, and where you can just kind of sit there, and it took me a lot to get there, right? And
yeah.
it's just, and having a partner, and in my case a wife that looks at stuff like that and is cautious of that and knows what triggers me, and wants to help me through that, not because she's enabling me, she wants to help me through it, right? She doesn't put up with my bullshit.
Right. Let's see.
For the listeners, he's digging something up on old Google there.
Yeah, I don't like that one. It's kind of, this is, in simple terms, trust is a legal arrangement or what?
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah, we're
now
not
they're.
going there.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh, uh-oh, we're gonna have to start talking about wills and trusts.
So, what is the meaning of trust in one word? Reliance,
Ooh,
integrity, strength, ability, surety of a person or thing. There's that word, confidence.
confidence, confident in something.
Truly confident.
Yeah. You trust yourself. I mean, that goes with self too, right? When you
Yeah.
trust your abilities and you've done the work. So a lot of times with me is in the past, with no matter what I did, I never did the work. I never was doing my reps on my off time. I never studied. I never did any of that. So when I came up to it, I never trusted myself. I felt incompetent because I was.
Hmm.
I didn't do any of the work required to show up how I needed to show up,
Right.
right? And that's a big thing, is when you're talking about subjects like confidence and things like that, or self-esteem, you don't do any of the work on your off times. You don't do any of this step work. You don't do any of this therapy. You don't take care of your health. You don't want, there's things that you're just not doing, and you show up in these world problems, you're going to show up really insecure,
Right.
because those things that you do on your off time are actually sharpening skills to show up for you in your daily life,
Right.
right? In those tough situations where, like they say, used to baffle us,
Yeah.
right? And but when you do that work in secret and with your higher power and with your sponsor, it changes the game.
Yeah.
You can face those with confidence and trust yourself. Say, hey, I've been through this. I know what this situation is. I know what's going to come up for me, and I trust myself to make the right decision.
Yeah.
Right. And getting to that point of trust with self is so huge, but it takes work.
Sure. It's I was while you're talking, I was just thinking about it. How many people listening have been to a therapist?
Mm.
Okay. And think about this. How many people that have been to a therapist have heard the therapist talking about your stuff? Not many,
Yeah.
you know. But you find that one that does, and all of a sudden, man, you can't trust them. You can't trust anyone because they're supposed to be held to a higher, excuse me, a higher level of confidentiality.
Yeah.
But it comes to sponsorship. That's where I like to hold myself, is to that level. That's where I held my sponsor,
Yeah.
to a very high level when I wasn't capable of being that trustworthy when I first got sober, right?
Yeah.
And I've learned that over a period of time. It's something that's practiced, every day. You know, trusting. First of all, I trust my God. You know, I trust my sponsor. I trust many people in my support group, and all that has happened over a period of years. So it's developed over a period of time. You know?
Yeah. It takes that work, that That work. You know, getting back to the way we like to close off some of this, we talk. I like to end both situations with how I'm going to do it and how my higher power works in it, right? Because I think that we're kind of all lost without a higher power, and that's the whole point of this whole thing. It's like the first three steps, dude. Like that's why they come first, right? Now those are those things with me constantly. I'm like, I do the first three steps every single freaking day, right? And all the other ones, but we're talking about those musts. I gotta have a higher power, because if I don't, I start acting funny. I start acting strange.
You're right back to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the natural. Oh, also, we should have said this in the beginning, but we want to give a shout out to the union.
Marianne Bolsey.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
to Marianne, and we want to give a shout out to the union. They did a special on us in the paper on the front page on a Thursday for April 17th. And when people come to you with their problems, you're blessed, right? And I thought that was a good little headline, and that we really are, man, because things with Project Heart and the other stuff we're involved in. I go to the rehab, you pick up dudes all the time, and from
Hey, that sounded kind of weird. That really
from the
sounded weird.
rehab. uh,
That didn't
choose your
sound right,
words
Frank.
better, buddy.
That didn't sound right, Frank.
But there's when people see us doing this and we get some recognition for this, if it's a good feeling, man. Um, they even mention Keith M's or Keith M's story in there because she listened to Keith's interview.
Yeah,
It was awesome, man. It was good. It was good stuff, man. So we appreciate the union. It's a local paper here in Grass Valley, man. We appreciate you guys.
yeah.
So, but I want to tie this in, and we'll finish up because I know you got places to be. So to finish off with trust and how the higher power works in my life today. Oh man, with the whole trust factor is especially with that, it really is attached to faith, right? I'm starting to realize how much I hated faith before, and how much today it's like I didn't realize. Most of the time is, I was like, yeah, man, I was positive. I thought it was just positivity, right? And there is an aspect to that, but the reason I was positive is because I knew everything was going to be okay, right? But I just thought it was this manifestation, and just doing good, and good things will happen. And but when anything would pop up bad, anything bad, challenging, it was like, oh, it's going to be okay. I know it's going to be okay. I'll make it
Yeah,
through.
yeah.
I was like, I'm confident in my abilities. I thought it was all about me, and I'm like, and my buddy's like, hey, man, that sounds a lot like faith. I was like, well, I
Hmm.
never thought of that, because before I was just like, well, I'm confident in what I got to do. I know I can handle whatever comes my way. Blah. It was all ego, right? And he said, no, 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 that sounds like faith. And I'm like, oh, well, that put it in a different light. And then I was like, oh, wait, maybe I do have more faith than I really thought.
It's kind of like having gratitude in your challenges.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, showing faith.
yeah. That's a good.
Yeah,
That's a good way to put it.
yeah,
Um,
uh, yeah.
so so finish off. How's your higher power gonna work in your life this coming
It's
week?
my director. You kidding me?
Flow directive.
I do the same thing I did when I first got sober.
Yeah.
I get up early in the morning and spend my, time with God and prayer and meditation and ask for direction and trust and rely on that direction and do the best of my ability to follow it. You know, and at the end of the day, man, I am so grateful.
Yeah.
You know, I made it through another day and I didn't have to kill anyone, didn't have to,
That's always good.
and yeah. In fact,
Well,
just did a gratitude list this morning.
Uh-oh, he's busting out the gratitude list.
Well, I'm not going to go through them all because there's quite a few. First one, always my relationship with God.
Yeah.
You know, the gift of grace and the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Boom.
Boom.
Let it be known.
Yeah. I've got a list of a lot more, but those are the top three.
Good.
Yeah. They changed my life.
Yeah, well, they helped change my life too.
Yeah,
So
I know.
it's contagious.
I got to watch it happen.
That's a good thing, man.
Yeah.
Tell everybody how much time you got.
A little over 14 years.
That's badass, man.
Sobriety date's November 6, 2010.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I got just over 6.5, actually.
Yeah.
Those are hard fought.
I know. Not really. I mean,
in the beginning.
Yeah, in the beginning, but the last thing I think about is drinking or using.
Yeah.
It just doesn't come to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It took a lot of beatings to get here because there was a lot of situations leading up to it.
Yeah.
So that's what when I think of it, of that challenge, it's like it took a lot to get me to where I wanted to, like, okay. I mean, it took you to 50.
Yeah.
I have to. I'm telling you that I use that for people in rehabs and any place I go.
Yeah.
They go, when they start making excuse, man, I'm already 60, I'm already 50. And I'm like, dude, my sponsor did it at 50 years old and he's living a good life.
Half a century old.
I said, so don't give me that shit. When someone tells me when they're 40, I'm like, dude.
You don't have to wait another 10 years.
You don't. You
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
But that's something I use because that's big, man. Because a lot of people think, oh, it can't be me. It can't be me because they either live their whole life like this, and like for sure, man. I use you as a poster child for that.
Oh boy.
Don't be like this guy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe your recovery can be like this guy, but not the time before it.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, all right, we're gonna wrap this up. Again, this is F.D. Recovery, and this week's weekly intention spiritual principle is trust. Follow along with us. We encourage you guys to drop comments down below and like, subscribe, do all that on whatever platform you're listening to. We appreciate your support.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to F.D. Recovery. A reminder, be kind to yourself on this journey of recovery. Also, call your sponsor, get connected to local support groups, and for one day at a time, stay clean and sober.